All right, this thing's recording, I think. Okay, we're good. Yep.
Yep.
Cool. All right, everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Nudawn, a Final Fantasy XI podcast. Thanks for joining in. Before we even get started tonight, before we even introduce who we are again, I just want to say thank you so much. This past week has actually been pretty crazy trying to keep up with the amount of feedback, people reaching out. So if I haven't responded to you, I apologize, but we did invest in a few things to help better keep up with the communication this week. So once again, thank you so much for listening on the different platforms this past week. But nonetheless, let's get into it tonight. I am your host, Isilies, and tonight I've got a couple co-hosts. First up is my man Vabrabond, back from last week. What's up, dude?
Not much, just
Popping bottles. And we are also blessed to have the one and only, we call him Gandalf, Cronin. What is up, Cronin?
Hi. I'm nothing much. I'm doing well. Here I am. Just living life. Sunday evening. Yep.
Yeah, rumor has it that Cronin's been playing the game since 6 months before it came out.
Yes, the imported Japanese copy. Yes.
Yeah, we actually brought him over just to give us the inside scoop. So, yeah, before we get started,
Sure.
into the agenda, Cronin, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your history?
Sure. Well, tell you what, I started in mid 2004 on Hades. I just picked it up as a PS2 game, and I've pretty much been playing this game on and off ever since. Hades merged into Cerberus, a lot of H&M activity. It was a good time. I kind of miss it. It was a different era. Now we're in a very different type of mentality of play. But back in the day, it was a lot of fun. But it's still a lot of fun. It's still a great game. That's why I'm still playing. I guess that works out to about 15 years. It's a long time.
Yeah, I was 15 years old when I started, so I don't know if that counts, but
I think a lot of us have been here quite a while. But yeah, I really miss some of the things that we used to do at 75, particularly big Linkshell events, and really a focus on knowing people in your local community and in your Linkshell. And that's one of the things I like in our group that we've really got. So
yeah, so in case we didn't mention, Cronin is one of the officers. So he essentially runs all the events except Dynamis, and
this guy can't really make the Saturday runs. So
yeah, and then we got Vabrabond for that. So cool. Well, before we get into the agenda, just real quick, if you haven't already, make sure you join us on Discord. It's going to be the easiest way to communicate with us. So obviously we're on YouTube. You can join or hop on the website and listen to the podcast. But if you really want to talk with us, give us feedback, which we want, make sure you go to the Discord and you can get that link right off the website. So, but let's get into the agenda. So I think we've got a pretty good one here for you tonight. We brought in Cronin here to give some good perspective on some of these topics. So we're going to start off giving you all just a little bit of an update from this past week with the Linkshell. So some things that we've done event-wise and kind of what we're going to be doing here in the next few weeks. But then we're going to move into the campaign for this month. So specifically, if we've got some people maybe returning to the game, what the campaigns are for, and maybe how you can take advantage of what this month's campaign has. But then we're going to move into some of the job changes for this month coming. So I think Square Enix might have heard us last podcast on some of these things. So we're going to be talking about really a little bit more into the Paladin and how we think these changes are going to impact, and then a little bit on the Dark Knight. And then if we got time, we are going to hit on some current events. So a little bit of the fan gathering that was announced, and then maybe some of the forum drama. So
It's a good time for that, because I'll tell you, it's been a quiet several years in terms of anything happening. We haven't seen bands in just years, and so this is the first time it's been kind of exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't in a while. I haven't knowingly or consciously going onto the forums and seeing like what's going on. So it's interesting for sure. So,
Yep.
so I mean, I'll kick it off to you all. So we did Dynamis this week, and we did some Aeonic. So Cronin, kind of tell us a little bit about where we are in terms of like our Aeonic abilities and
Absolutely.
what some of our goals are.
So one of the things that many members have requested is to get Aeonics done, and they want 4 to 5 plus. And of course, that's one of the big parts of getting everybody up to speed, is deciding how you want to do that. You can approach it with summoners and kind of cheese everything, or you can try and do some of the legitimate strategies with DDs or Rangers and Cores. I think we're probably going to end up taking kind of a mixed approach, but in case anybody doesn't know, our group has really only been doing events. The majority of people in our shell are new and returning players. There are a few, people who are just old farts like me, but it's an addictive game. But most people have been building from scratch since, I would say, maybe early June, June 10th or something, I think was our first official event.
Yeah.
And so we've really seen a progression from being able to just sort of take a small group in and be able to do lower tier content, slowly getting everybody geared primarily through Omen and grinding out job point parties and getting everybody a few Remas, and more on that later maybe. But we're at Aeonics, and of course everybody thinks Nirvana, and everybody sort of approaches it with the mentality of, let's just bring in the summoners and just call it a day. Excuse me. I'm thinking that the best way for us to approach some of these fights is actually with a balanced DD setup, and so that's what we did. Of course, there's no other way to do Oni Chofora. Forgive me if I've mispronounced that strange name.
That was pretty good.
Okay, all right.
I'd
good.
sell it for $20.
Sold. So we've worked with a strategy on Oni that we developed. It's the same strategy that everybody else does with DDs, but in order to carry a full alliance, and it's not really carrying at this point since everyone's so geared. In order to pull the whole alliance through the content, everybody has to have a role, and so you throw your DDs on there just so to make sure that we don't skill chain. We're doing Shoha, Savage Blade, and I think a few people were also throwing in Resolution.
Yep.
Mostly Glaren.
Hey.
Okay. All right.
Rune Fencer.
Tank Rezo, sure. And so we were able to clear that with time to spare, and it was really it was kind of rewarding, because that's the content at the end of the road. And I think that going forward, we're probably going to have to shift back to summoners. We've got several Nirvanas and more in the pipeline, but for the time being, I think that we're going to just move one helm to the other with the whole group. And if we've got a strategy that requires something that we don't have, we're just going to start thinking creatively.
Yeah, and I think too, for anyone who either hasn't done the helms or maybe doesn't even know what some of the new Rise and Gema content is, the HP scaling is we're dealing with a lot right now too. So it makes it with the mentality we have, like we want to tackle as much as we can with the biggest group possible. It also makes it a little bit more difficult, because it just adds that much more HP as you add more people to the alliance. So we're having to balance with, okay, are we going to have to do maybe multiple kills each event and with less people?
Right.
Is that kind of accurate too?
Kieran and Walk. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this past week we cleared the worm. Okay, so we've got 6 more to tackle, so we're gonna be working through what strategy we want to do. But Vob, you want to tell us a little bit about kind of Dynamis this week? So I know one was a statue crusher we did, and then last night was Bastock.
So yep, Tuesday we did the statue crusher campaign. Killed actually every statue on both wave 1 and 2. We had a little bit of extra time, so we could have spent more time farming RP, but
Yeah, and you, if I remember right, you did get out damaged by myself, so we're gonna work on that
It's
with you.
really
So.
hard to count that when your Corsair's never there because he's got a one-shot statues. Don't worry, one day your Ranger will be able to one-shot things. He'll believe in you, though.
So yeah, it was good though. I mean, we literally killed every statue. People, I think it was a good chance to make a little bit of money for people. You know, right now we're dealing with the economy working through all of the dupe, beastmen, stuff. So we might have to sit on them for a little bit until it saturates out. But yeah, it was a great campaign. And then last night was Bastock. So we did an RP farm, right? That's kind of what the focus was,
yep.
really.
Yeah, we did a RP farm. Had a fairly good run. I think we all got about 3,000-ish RP.
Yep.
Could do a little better on that, but it's still, really good, especially since most people were on like secondary jobs anyways. So
sweet.
Lots of good things coming on from that.
Yeah. And the next are so good. The RP is always a help.
Yeah, and the great thing too is when you look at our group is people are just the confidence level in certain things. Like it's not like, oh, I hope I can kill this. So when you look at Ellie and Roka and Glaren's Corsair now, just having the confidence to like know that they can step out and go kill a few statues and not have to wait on the entire group. So it's just really cool to see from a progression standpoint. A lot of these people gearing up these jobs and doing things that we definitely were not doing a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So.
And if I could just add a little something to that, what's interesting was when we first started doing Omen runs, just kind of casually with everybody, we would pup tank them because we didn't really have anybody who wanted to tank, and I would go summon or push DPS, and we would do a puppet master with a couple of summoners, and that was it. And it was fun, but a lot of people kind of just had to hang around because they didn't have the right jobs for it. And what we have now is a situation where a lot of people have focused on job versatility. They're flexible. They got 4 or 5 jobs rolling around, adequately geared, and they're able to come to events, all of our events, and contribute in some way or another. And I think that's a really satisfying feeling, just me personally.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move into the campaign here. And before we talk about this month's campaign, either of you can kind of take this because, I wasn't here the past few years to really see these campaigns come into play. Have they been around for a while? Did this come like after Rhapsodies was done, or did that start before?
I'm pretty sure campaign. I know that the events have been here. Well before Rhapsodies were, but this cycle of monthly campaigns is something in the last several years. I remember there was one, was it 2014 or something? They did this crazy campaign where every week was a series of 8 different campaigns or something, and they cycled, and it was like Carbuncle's Rainbow campaign or some shit, and they had it where it was really good campaigns, but for 7 days, and then you'd get like 7 days of another one or something like that, and it would just cycle, and people were really burned out at the end of the month. So I think they've got a good balance now.
Yeah, just outside, like looking in for me coming back in May, like it's just a great type of thing to like get returning people every month, just from the different things that you can do, whether it's gearing up or finding ways to make money, which we'll go over a little bit today, but all in all, definitely a positive ad for the game, I think, and just from the announcement that they made like 6-7 months ago from this 20th anniversary thing, I think it's a good thing to kind of continue to give people something a little bit to work on each month.
Absolutely.
So
it's like the spice. It's like the spice of life in the game. The campaigns are really like, and if you're starting to burn out, you could say, well, maybe I'll take next month off, and then the next month after that, they'll have EXP or something, or they'll have boulders or something. I'd go farm up high tier battlefields or whatever. But nice.
This month, we got a for this campaign was the CP and XP campaign. So I know Glaren, he is alive, by the way. I know he mastered 10 jobs this month. We didn't know if he was going to come out of the caves, but definitely it was a bonus for the Linkshell this month with all the master jobs.
Yeah, silly Galka. He mistook in the woe gates with mine.
Mines. What was really nice is we would wrap up events and then people would bullshit a little, laugh, and then they'd kind of roll into the job point grinds, which was nice,
Yeah,
for a couple hours.
Well, let's get into this month. So, I mean, and I think the goal here is we're going to start out looking at it through the lens of like, am I a returning player, and then some of the existing player base too. But I'll kind of pull it up here, and you guys can kind of go through and see what's important, what's most relevant. I think the first few revolve around the Adulan. So we've got the Delve campaign, the Adulan Dial, and then the colonization reeves. So the little segments that you get to actually get into skirmish, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's sort of an very few people will see any use or benefit from that campaign. I think the segment campaign.
Yeah, the only area where I can see maybe is if I'm returning to the game. Was skirmish close to the first 119 content?
Oh yeah, it was actually pre 119. I think that the NQ skirmish set is eye level 113, like the Sizzin NQ and the Hagondez, or however you pronounce it. That NQ set, I want to say, was 113, and that's what scaled people up to 119, where they could start tackling fractured delve fights.
Yeah, so I was just thinking hey, I'm back in the game. I've got to learn these new zones. It's almost like these are almost there to kind of support someone coming back, because you're going to need those to get into skirmish, which is the other campaign that's going on where you augment some of that gear. So it's kind of a fun way to at least get to see the beginning of this 119 shift. And the campaigns kind of support being able to even do skirmish. I think that's kind of the goal. What's the Adulan Dial campaign? I actually haven't been around since one of those added. Is that just skirmish stones and stuff that drop from skirmish?
Yeah, it's every time I spin it, I get I'm not gonna lie, I get kind of garbage out of it. I've had a very unlucky stretch though, but you get skirmish stones. Technically, you could get something that conceivably could sell for something like I don't know what the price on what Dusk Orbs is, right? Or Dusk Orb +2 or something. But I don't know. It's very much a random lottery pull every day.
Well, for some existing classes, and Bob, I think maybe you might have to use some of these too. I know for Rune Fencer, there's the Taeon set, but it's also a good time to min-max a lot of the augments. So the augments are going to be better. I know there's a Phalanx set for Rune Fencer. I don't know what other jobs really benefit from that.
Paladin.
Well, the Taeon set, you can use pieces of that for your Geomancer bubble sets and stuff like that as well.
I'm sorry.
DT Pet Regen. Well, that's that's the Alluvian skirmish set. So
yeah. My mistake. I thought you were just talking about Phalanx in general.
Well, yeah, I guess too for Geomancer what is it, the Telchon, that enhancing duration set too, actually.
Well, it's got good. 3 pieces of Pet Regen, so Geo can get Pet Regen in the head and the feet more readily. But if you want to shift away from Refresh or PDT and towards Pet Regen, you could in the body, hands, and legs slot with Pet Regen +3 caps on the Telchine from, I believe that's off of, I believe Pet Regen's off of either Leaf Orb or Dusk Orb. I think it's Leaf Orb, but I don't quote me on it.
Yeah, I would have to double check to verify either way that comes from.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the skirmish, I know a lot of people aren't as excited about this month, and it's definitely not as good as November, but for if there's any new people coming back, it's I just think it's pretty good because it's all focused on kind of Adulan, so it doesn't force you into having to be and have every piece of gear that's the best in slot, it kind of eases you into that 119 content. So
absolutely, and it's nice for people to progress. There are actually a few pieces that I that anybody should still have in their sets, and I think well, not anybody, but most people will still probably make some use of. For example, bards will often use the Genduitha gloves or gauges or whatever +1 augmented, because I believe it has base fast cast, and then I think you get song either cast time or recast on it. I think it's cast time, so it's still pretty solid for a lot of jobs for fast cast too, for example.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even think the Taeon or Tel stuff is on here, because I don't see it on the list for the event.
Right. The augmentation campaign is separate from the dial campaign. I think when we were talking about that, you can get anything. I'm pretty sure anything can pop out of the dial. Skirmish stones is very broad. I remember it including good and bad. So, but for the augments, the increased augment campaign is just for the old gear.
Oh yeah, I am seeing that now. So
yeah.
Which, I mean, still, once again, easing you in some of that content. It's nice to know that there's a campaign to support it. But one that is good, really good for returning people is the macro orb campaign. So, because people are always short on papers. So, maybe
Rem's chapters, plus with the super inflated prices of the Tetsus right now, that's always a real easy way to make some decent gil.
Yeah. So in this campaign, just reading it, I mean, it's there's job cards, items. Obviously, you get more papers. But if you're just coming back to the game, or really with coming off of a month where we had a big CP campaign, there's probably a lot of people who mastered some jobs who are now going back and getting a lot of that 119 AF Empyrean gear. This is
That's funny, because I've done stuff like that. Like, I mastered. I built like a relic or an Empyrean or something. Geez, I should probably do all the gear sets now so I can play it.
Yeah, my Ranger. That's what I did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Corsair for me. Yeah.
Then I went back, and you're pissed because you don't have the papers to get the job, and then to top it off, you've got that time wall every upgrade. So the 1 hour, 1 game day time wall. So that is still in the game for some reason.
Well, I mean, time walls like that, even though they do suck, like it's kind of designed so that way you can go, you make a piece, you upgrade a piece, you use said piece, and you may upgrade your next piece, is kind of how a lot of it was designed around. Not just turning 99 and slamming down your eye level 119 -3 or whatever gear.
Yeah. I mean, anything else on this event that you think is noteworthy, Cronin, Bob?
I think the Plasm, the Delve campaign for Plasm is always nice for anyone working on Idris EPO, or just trying to make a few bucks or catch up with some of the gear if they're returning.
Oh yeah, the Delve campaign, you can pretty quickly get the pop items for a lot of your tier 3, your like Esha, Ruron tier 3 pops for like pack a set as well.
And they sell pretty well too.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you know anybody who's got a competent slashing based job like a Blue Mage or a Sam, you can blast through Yorcia. You could just slaughter Wopket and all the Guardians in there, or whatever you call the lower mid bosses, in 10 to 15 minutes, and that gets you about 180k plus change. So it's and of course then the mats that drop, the bowls and roots that drop off of Wopket itself. That could be a source of easy money.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, I mean, if you get a group and you just dedicate a few hours, like the amount of plasm, like on the tree one, it was like 300,000 or something to run something silly last campaign.
Well, it's 90k doubled, and then you've got some other small change pieces that adds. I would say you're just south of 200,000. Yeah.
Yeah, Which, what do you need for an Ergon weapon? How many?
Like 2.5 mil, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's
You could
crazy.
easily, and with how fast you can do delve nowadays, even with mostly fresh gear, you can incredibly quickly rack up that 2.5 mil. And even if you just use it to get gil or get somebody still useful pieces of delve gear like the ESA belt.
Yep. There are some real great miscellaneous pieces from Delve. There's a pair of Fast Cast +5 pants that can hold somebody over until they get the if they're able to equip the better pants from Ambuscade or elsewhere. We should have a discussion on the pronunciation of that word, by the way. How do you guys say it?
Which one? I gotta look it up.
Ambuscade.
Ambuscade. See, I know how I say it. Now you've confused me.
Okay, now you got the long U. Ambuscade.
Ambuscade.
I'm over here saying ambuscade.
Ambuscade.
Y'all gotta forgive me. I grew up on Hooked on Phonics, so I pronounce everything wrong.
He just says ambu to make it easy.
So
he doesn't have to say the second half of the word.
It's ambuscade for me too. So
we have somebody who says I'm not trying to offend anyone, but somebody does pronounce it ambushcade or something like that, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
That's hilarious.
But anyway, there's a lot of great things from Delve, like miscellaneous stuff. Like there's the Fucho no Obi provides you conditional refresh 1 a tick if your MP is below. I think what is it, half?
50% of your base MP, not counting equipment.
And which is fantastic. I mean, most mages should, unless you need something else, that's a great idle option for a refresh set.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was saying there's a few different like good idle mage pieces in there. So, a couple of weapons, ammo pieces.
Yep. And I'll just add just 2 seconds of thought on if anybody's looking, if they're recently returned to the game, they're looking to get into Delve, make some plasm, get some gear. One of the best ways you can do it is to find somebody who's got kind of a well-geared slashing DD. Just go run through Yorcia and just do WOP kit. Really all you need is a slashing DD and a Geo. Anything else helps. Trust a white mage can probably handle it just fine. The Geo should be able to proc on Leafid, the tree, and anything else. The Geo can blind the first NM, for example. And generally speaking, a pretty well-geared slashing DD like Blue or Samurai or something, in combination with a 900 skill Geo, can clear it pretty easily. So that's sort of the base level threshold there for somebody coming back and looking to get into it.
Yeah, that's good. And then, so there's a couple more on the campaign here. And one of these is I guess is pretty good. I think it might be overlooked now, but if you can think like back in the day, skilling up, like how difficult it was. Like you especially like so
crabs.
Yeah, let's say they like for some reason a certain weapon like became better. So if a job used multiple weapons and now I got a level greatsword or whatever it is, having to like figure out what zones to go to. But there's a combat and magic skill campaign too is included in this. So if you're just starting, like you'll be able to kind of keep up because you level so much faster now.
Definitely, and books help.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're getting into like you're talking about like from Sparks.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Spark Redemption skill up tomes. Yes.
Yep. And then we can't look over the chocobo digging campaign either. So
yes, we can.
Oh man, most exciting thing of the month. I swear to God, I got the bird ready. I'm about to hop on him. No, but you start talking about skill ups. You guys remember skilling up in Boyata Tree on the crabs?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
terrible. I hated that.
Yeah, and hopefully you didn't aggro. What was the thing that dropped that good ranger axe back in the
Aquarius? Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's okay. The RMT will claim it well before it aggroes you for clots.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's where everyone went to skill up then, because then you like migrate up to the Gubu area. And those
do
crabs.
the steel shells.
Yep. But do you all have your own chocobo? Like I haven't done that. I know it.
Nah.
No. I got on looking at HSIs, and he's got a black chocobo, and I don't know if like depending on the color of the chocobo, like is there going to be a difference or not? But his goes like so slow. It's like you have gravity on.
I'm not an expert in this because I haven't done it, but I have anecdotally read that if you that's from the level 75 chocobo breeding thing. If you get one and you max out its stats and there's like some ability for it you have to max out, then it will be, I think, the equivalent speed of a mount, but it's only if you have a perfect, and I don't know, I've never done this because I think it's a BS waste of time. I'll go on a rant ever, but but yeah, I think you can, but you would have to you'd have to plan it correctly, and it's very slow.
Well, I mean, if anyone is interested in the campaign, it is a chocobo digging skill increase campaign. So enjoy an increased chance.
So like choking your chicken or something.
Enjoy an increased chance for your chocobo digging skill to increase each time your chocobo digs.
Really?
And there we go. So tell me a little bit about this month's Omen campaign. Like, I don't even know what this one is. It was difficult for me to understand, but Omen will experience the following adjustments. 2 Omen lights will be activated when vanquishing monsters. So what does that mean?
It means you're going to get
question.
Like 1 extra card, maybe 2. This is what I call the NQ event. Every time this every time this stuff comes around every month, I see people doing card farms, and you go in and you're not going to get 11 cards off of this. You're going to get something far lower. It's just it's not a double. It doesn't double up on objectives. It's for whatever reason, it's the normal quality equivalent that they decided to make. I think this might have been the earlier version of the Omen campaign. I don't know. I'd have to look back.
Yeah, I just assumed that it was like not worth trying to.
It's that conditional thing. If the first light is a good one, the second will not appear. I think that, and I mean, there's a lot of they have designed the system around loving obscurity, but I think that conditional element of the extra light only appearing under certain circumstances is what causes a lower card yield compared to the other HQ event.
Well, to wrap up this month's...
Of course, gallantry.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, you have the ambuscade.
Ambuscade.
Ambuscade, ambushade event. It's the gallantry one. So once a day you get a bonus. I think that's how it works, right? It doubles your gallantry that you get.
Yeah, it's double. And then I'm pretty sure that works with the seal too. So you could just get a ton.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it stacks with the seal. So cool. Well, anything else you want to wrap up on this month's event before we move on here?
I if anybody has any questions about how to best to squeeze out the most gil or gear out of one of these events, and they want to bounce a question off us, we have a publicly available social tab on our Discord. Feel free to post a question, and any of us will get back to you.
Yeah, no, that leads perfectly into this little segue before we move on to the next topic. Just to remind everyone, so we're on a few different platforms. So obviously we're on the big ones, so you can follow us on Twitter. So I will say my Twitter game isn't the best, but I try. The best place to hop on is Discord, like Cronin said, which you can get off of our website. So that is www.nudawnls.com. And then there is a active link there where you can obviously interact with us with people of the Linkshell. There's a podcast tab to give us some feedback. But then we're also on YouTube. And then on the website, I'll go ahead and plug this just a little bit. Don't ever feel obligated. But if you want to donate to help this out a little bit, so with the response that we got this past week, we did invest in some tools to kind of better look at some of the feedback that you all are giving. That is also on the website. But enough of that mumbo jumbo. Let's move into the next topic. Now, before we get into this, there were a couple members in the Linkshell that wanted us to look at Paladin a little bit more. So we're going to take probably most of the time with the job changes, and Cronin's going to fill us in, so we can to see how these updates are going to impact, and then we'll get into Dark Knight. But let's talk a little bit about the updates coming. They vaguely announced some changes. So what did they give us, Cronin?
Well, the patch has provided that a job ability will be added that makes cures AoE. And that, to me, is sort of I have reservations about that. Yeah, well, it might work, but the second thing
if your white mage is asleep.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's sort of the point. But let's dispatch Banishka. That a rune subbing dark will tag enemies in Dynamis and elsewhere with Poison Ga. Rarely will the poison actually land, causing sleep problems, because you're not casting it in an MX set. And so, of course, Poison Ga has become Poison Ga followed by a quick foil is a Dark Knight staple. I guess they had decided that Sub Blue Sheep Song wasn't great for Paladin, so now Paladin has Banishka. That's cool. That's a step in the right direction, but I don't think it really does much because they can't follow it up with foil or I guess they get Sentinel, but that's the cooldown's going to be beat by each pull in Dynamis. The AoE curing is interesting, but we don't know what the cooldown on the job ability will be. And furthermore, if you cure and the amount of enmity you gain, cumulative and volatile, is based on how much you cure for. And there's a multiplier and a formula. You can look it up. But at the end of the day, if you're curing for 0 and your white mage is doing their job, I don't know what you're really going to AoE cure unless the white mage is working on Kursna or something.
Yeah, but, so I had some questions on that too. So let me just read the little Paladin thing and then I'll ask my question. So next up are this month's job adjustments. So Paladins are most often compared with Rune Fencers. So we elected to further differentiate. That's right. I just said that word. The two in a couple ways. By providing Paladins a new ability that give cure spells an area of effect and giving them access to Banishka. Okay, so what they're saying is is that all cure spells, or is that going to be is that what that's saying? So you use this ability and cure 1 through 5, Paladin get cure 5? 4.
Yeah, because 5 has fixed enmity anyway. I believe it's programmed into the spell.
Oh, yeah, right.
It generates a set number, so they didn't even give it to Paladin at any point. It's no purpose.
Yeah, so what I was thinking there, and this maybe address some of those things, but I think this goes down to the cooldown for that job ability. But
yep, I think so.
Having HP switching sets, so quickly switching in and taking HP away from yourself. That's the only thing that I can think of.
Well, that's cure cheating. It's okay. I should qualify that. Cure cheating is the way, but it's a cure cheat because that's been around forever. I mean, every Paladin's got the HP reduction set, or you pull all the HP pieces off in a macro. I have that on my precast for one of my macros. But the problem is, I don't know who you would cure if your white mage is keeping up to date with what they need to be doing with Curagas and stuff. That's the problem. Is the Paladin going to beat the really good white mage?
Not a chance. Half drunk on a bet, the white mage should win that.
So you don't think that the job ability itself will produce any enmity?
No, because
I think the job ability will produce enmity, but it's going to be not enough to be. It's not going to compete with anything that's the reason why Paladin can't. I shouldn't say can't, but why Paladin ends up being a lot lower on the enmity generation tables.
Yeah. Here's an interesting point for you. Okay, mob uses a big AoE, right? Okay, got a couple DDs next to you. You're all in range. Everybody's taking a bunch of damage. Okay, but the Paladin has to press I'm assuming it's not a stance. If it's a stance, which is a job ability that lasts for a duration, that's different. But assuming it's a one pop, like a one use, like Divine Seal or something kind of a thing, The paladin has to use the job ability to then cast a cure afterwards after the global cooldown, and that is going to, by the time you've done all that, your white mage just pressed one button and hit a virtually instant Curaga 3 or 4, and you're done.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I still think, I mean, do you think they addressed the wrong thing? Do you think they should have not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because, so talk a little bit about the difference on how foil works, and then there's a paladin version of foil, right?
Foil is really quite unique. It's a paladin does not have, I mean, they've got Sentinel, I guess, but foil is, as a spell with such a short recast, is something that's so beneficial to Rune Fencer. I'll add some thoughts. I actually made some notes coming into this conversation because
definitely.
I had so many thoughts about Paladin, because I played Paladin at 75, and then I played it in Abyssia when it was not so popular, and then I played it in Void Watch when it was also sort of not so popular, kind of off and on. And then, I really, it's a really great job, but it's got some weaknesses. I permanently retired my Paladin until they fixed it. So, I mean, but anyway, so I think that the weak point for Paladin is there's a few. One point is they're not particularly gifted with magic evasion. Rune Fencer doesn't have to worry about magical statuses or any other problems, because with proper use of job abilities and bar spells, and if you're really worried, carols, you're in good shape. For example, remember the Ambuscade month where it's the orc that does the AOE light charm, and you just throw up like, you just throw up the correct runes, you do light carols, and you're good. Another problem is, so somebody might say then, oh, well, just use fealty. Okay, fealty works if you can predict it and it's on a timer or an HP level, but if it's just a move that's spammed, it doesn't really address the problem, whereas a Rune Fencer has a passive resistance at all times. And of course, anybody can tell that Paladin has a problem with being able to actually control hate, especially in the older zones that have content scaled up. The final Unity fight, the Tumult Curator. Anyway, he's an example of where hate's just going to be all over the place. But even in the correctly programmed zones, Paladin just doesn't, because Paladin can't hybrid. So okay, Paladin swaps into a hybrid set, and what really does it do? Maybe okay, a Savage Blade, but not with the frequency of a Blue Mage, not with the strength of a Blue Mage.
It doesn't even do that with the frequency or strength of a Rune Fencer.
Right. So Rune can do great damage. I mean, we've seen examples in our shell where a Rune Fencer has been in a hybrid set and pulled amazing numbers, and you wonder who's the DD, who's the tank. But for Paladin, it's a problem. And there's one last problem. I would say that the shield block rate has really not been properly addressed in recent years. It used to be fine. In fact, when O-Chain came out, it was goofy because the developers speculated that O-Chain retroactively would have been like an eye level 150 shield or something like that. But I think blocking is also, the shield block formula needs to be readdressed, and that's another important point. But those are some of the problems with Paladin right now. It can't compete. So most of the threat does not come from outright damage. It comes from status effects. And status effects are a problem, and that's what Rune Fencer is so great at handling, not Paladin.
So do you think that, because, I mean, it seems like just giving Paladin foil or some version of it would be a natural thing to just give them. Do you think they're just afraid of, like, there being no difference between the two classes, or...
It's clear to me from Matsui's post that they want there to be a differentiation in mentality and play style between the two tanks. In practice, there's not a lot of difference in terms of your overall goal is to survive and hold hate. Those two things together, maybe a little damage if you're looking to be ambitious, but I mean, it's clear they want to have two different tanks, and that's just not always. I don't see how they're going to differentiate. There's always going to be one that's marginally better, and players over the years always consistently take the path of least resistance. There will always be a better tank for certain content, and in this case, 99% of the time, it's Rune. I hate to say it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you got to look at the content right now too. I mean, like it's all about special abilities and magic, like magic special abilities, which Rune specializes in. And
yeah, and so I mean, I don't know.
So
on a positive note, I have a couple of ideas.
Yeah. Good. Let's hear it.
I don't know about you.
We know Glaren is listening. We got to feed him something juicy.
Oh, geez. Yeah, and to anybody who doesn't know, Glaren's another one of our Linkshell Paladins, and he's devoted to Paladin no matter what it gets in this patch. So, I mean, I'm hopeful myself. I've put my Aegis, O-Chain, Burt Gang in storage, and I leveled a Rune. That's sad. Okay, here's my ideas. Some of these have been, I've read them on forums. We've all talked about them and, thought it out in the Linkshell a little bit. Other things, I mean, this just, here's one idea I had was a spell interruption rate trait. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It could be 20 or 30%. It might allow for an easy, for certain paladins who are just getting into the game, it might allow them to construct a mid-cast spell interruption set rate, mid-cast set a little bit easier without the HP swings that you can sometimes have.
So you're talking about like having to use like less gear to make sure your spells go off. Right. Is that what you're saying?
Because Paladin didn't have to cap spell interruption rate when O-Chain was in force and it was blocking everything. But the minute that shield block rates uncapped, we went back to a world where Paladin could get smacked around and not be able to cast.
So let's pause for just a second whenever and this is a little bit from my knowledge too, and I think there'll be some people listening that don't quite understand. So when you say it uncapped, do you mean the mob's ability to go past the block rate? Is that what you're saying? So like the mob scaled past the shield?
Yeah, there's a formula that's relative to the shield size. It takes into account shield skill, and it looks at the level of the monster relative to the player's, I believe it's relative to the player's shield skill. I mean, I have to pull up the formula to quote it, but more or less what we've seen is that Aegis has gone down and down. It already had a lower proc rate in comparison to O-Chain, but it's gone down and down. Now it's floored very low in terms of block rates, while O-Chain has been uncapped from 100%, and now I think it sits around maybe, 65% on 129 content or something in that neighborhood. I would have to pull out the specific numbers, but just needless to say, if Reprisal or Palisade aren't up, you will get hit through your O-Chain. And so as content has got harder, that formula hasn't been adjusted, and block rates continue to go down. As content levels go higher and higher, Paladin becomes less and less effective with shield blocks. And of course, then you're going to get hit while casting. You're not going to be mitigating damage as well, etc.
So do you think they're just afraid to break it by adding like a 119 version?
I don't know. For some reason Paladin doesn't take a lot of damage. Maybe they're worried that they're just going to make it too OP and then Rune Fencers in the toilet. I don't know.
All right. So you got you one idea was a job trait, spell interruption. What else?
I would love to see them take a look at the shield block rates. I think that's important. The Ionic Shield was kind of a flop. I would like to see them go back and revise the numbers.
You mean a complete flop, right?
Well, yeah.
I haven't seen one since I've been back to the game, to be honest.
If I remember correctly, your Oboro JSC shield is actually better than that thing, isn't it?
I don't.
No, that's not a joke. That's me being serious.
Oh, man, I know. Okay, here's another thought. How about a version of Foil that only does magic evasion for the next spell or TP move? Like Foil, but for magic evasion. That would shore up some of Paladin's weakness and give it a spell it could cast that produces an AoE hate generation rather than single target with flash. So and Fealty, drop the recast.
So you're saying like Foil is for like TP moves, so giving them one for just strictly magic, right?
Yeah, so Foil gives physical evasion for the next TP move, and it decays over time, and then when you get hit, I believe it wears off. But for you could give Paladin like a magic evasion one, and
yes.
Have it decay over time similarly, and give it similar numbers.
Yeah, I think that idea is phenomenal, because I think it at least gives it something in the realm of Rune Fencer's ability to practically negate all magic damage. So,
and And
Yep.
okay, so a lot of people use atonement. I mean, it's a lot of people throw it out. I'm sorry, not a lot of people use it. A lot of people discuss atonement. Wrong phrase. Nobody actually uses atonement. uh, a way to fix that without breaking the game would be, what if we made it so that atonement does crappy 1500 damage or whatever your neighborhood is, but then it generates 10 times the enmity worth, just plug a multiplier in. So you're able to spam atonement. You use atonement. It does 1500 damage, but you get 15,000. Or I guess that would be a little high. Maybe 3 or 4 times or something.
Well, I mean, 15,000 damage worth of enmity would be just fine.
Yeah. Well, no, because the cap is 30K. So then you'd always, okay. I'm sorry, I made the numbers too big, but you get the idea. You could
Yeah.
give it some multiple to make it appropriate, and then it wouldn't be doing much damage, but it would be holding hate. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think that at the end of the day, like what needs to happen is that. So you just need to generate more enmity, or they just need to make, is it Burt Gang? I said it right?
Yeah.
Stronger. So it needs to be able to put out way more damage than what it does when I can be on Rune Fencer and do 40, 50K resolutions on Helms. And, you know, what's a Burt Gang going to do damage wise? A few thousand?
1,500.
Well, SE again and again, they have kind of shown us their hand that they don't like patching around specific weapons. They like to address the core job without worrying about REMA stuff. So I think that's a cool idea. I wish they would do it, but I'm a little skeptical that they will.
Well, I mean, I think that lets us transition into the other job update, which is Dark Knight, which they are specifically modifying the damage for that weapon category. So to read the just the notes for Dark Knight, so Dark Knights, on the other hand, will be able to reap the benefits of a boost to their damage dealing capabilities with adjustments to scythe damage calculations. So they're just flat going to buff the scythe in general. And, you know, we talked a little bit about this before, but the problem with scythe is just that the weapon skills themselves don't do as much damage as the greatsword. So that's why you see, you know, everyone with kata spamming torque cleaver, just because the freaking weapon skill is so strong. So this will be interesting to one, you know, we talked about it last week, or Vob brought it up, and then in the Linkshell, Ellie brought it up that they were going to do this. So I don't know what your all's thoughts are.
So it's essentially the same way they fixed Monk, and for Scythe, I think that's really good, because I mean the weapons have always been pretty interesting for Scythe. The weapon skills are always been fairly cool or unique to them. And once upon a time ago, it used to be, you know, you do Scythe for your big multi-hit weapon skills for Dark Knight with Guillotine and Spiral Hell. Whereas Greatsword was your single hit ones from Spinning Slash or Ground Strike. But it seems the directions of that have turned the exact opposite direction with Resolution. Torque Cleaver, like Greatsword kind of gets it all, whereas Dark Knight, whereas Scythe doesn't really have anything in that category.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see Veek and Dynamis with that ambuscade scythe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just looking at the stats, like I feel like Dark Knight's probably my least knowledgeable job. Like it's level 50 just for the Rune Fencer, but anyways, I mean, it's got you know, the Spiral Hell damage plus 100%. So I'm excited to kind of to see exactly how big the calculations are changed, but I don't know. Either of you even played Dark Knight before?
Not seriously, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same boat.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is kind of going to be like a look and see. So hopefully we've got a couple Dark Knights in the Linkshell that pick up pick the scythe back up, and we'll kind of see what it does.
Well, if I could just add, I mean, I may not be a Dark Knight expert, but every time that SE goes and it adjusts weapon skills, we typically have a shift in the meta, or at the very least, we have increased use of the job. Look at so the Munch, the put a couple words together. The Monk patch just recently pulled Monk back into the spotlight as a reasonable, low TP feed damage dealer when much of the player base had discounted it. In 2014, when they changed all the weapon skills around and modified all the FTP values and fiddled with everything, all of a sudden, elemental weapon skills were tons of fun. Shandu Sign was amazing. It just changed the game in a lot of ways. So hopefully they fix Scythe and get rid of those goofy modifiers and actually fix it.
Yeah, it'll be good for more than a
style lock town piece.
Well, a skill chain piece, so it gives you other element for a lot of the skill chains. So, okay, well, that kind of wraps up the changes. A lot of it's going to be based on, okay, are these actually going to make a difference, at least on the Paladin side. So I think they still have a lot of feedback to take on the Paladin job, but let's hit on a few minutes. We actually made good time here. So let's talk about some of the current event stuff. So they announced the fan gathering, and initially everyone didn't know if it was fake or not because it leaked. It leaked on Reddit like 2 weeks early with a password. So it was like, okay, is this like, am I getting hacked? Because I clicked on the link and it's like, enter a password. I'm like, okay, it wants me to like start entering stuff and steal all my data. But then now it's officially out on the Play Online site. So, what are your thoughts?
Bob, I'll let you start.
I'm not going.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, I don't know how many people are going to be able to make it, but let me put a little positivity in there of I think it's exciting in 2019 with a game that's 17, 18 years old that they're actually making an event for when they haven't in a long time. So I think it's at least gives a telltale of, okay, they are at least invested in some things to come.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. The some of the fan events, I believe they're always in California historically, right? I mean, I never went to one because it's kind of a bit of travel, but I think that's very cool, especially given that if it's an actual gathering, they'll have news coverage in some of the like Polygon and similar places, and any press is good press, right?
Oh yeah, and this goes back a couple months too. I mean, this whole kind of like marketing push in general, where in Japan, like they've opened up more like merchandise, or they're selling stuff again. So it's cool to see that they've clearly gotten some marketing money to be able to make a push over the next couple years. I think. To get people back into the game and prep for whatever that they have coming for this 20th anniversary.
Big one, yeah,
which. We've got a couple minutes here. I mean, what are your thoughts that this could lead up to? Are you thinking an expansion, or what are you thinking?
I personally, go ahead.
So I think whatever they add, like it could be, even if they add another like Rhapsody style push forward, like there's nothing they could add at this point in time in the game that'd be really that bad of a thing to have. It's between like if they do another Rhapsody style update, or if they do include some small content or even fairly large amounts of content, and then plus with the still lack of the Empyrean +2 and +3 sets, bringing that another direction around too would never be a bad thing.
Yeah, I definitely think that's probably coming soon. And,
absolutely. I bet they'll be tied together. And I'd love to see revamped Abyssia. I'd love to see revamped Void Watch. Personally, I'd love to see an instanced version of Limbus. If they did Limbus right now, it would be a mess because you can only book 4 zones at once in each subzone.
Yep.
But if they instanced it would be super cool. And those are some unique zones. Remember, you guys remember all the Limbus fights? Every single floor had unique properties, and
they were all different.
The maps were different. You had to figure out each different one. It was really cool. I really hope they develop content like that again, but who knows?
Yeah, this could be a different episode, but I loved Promethean. Like,
absolutely.
Anyways,
C was so unique.
But two, I think what you also have coming is the with the whatchamacallit, the deeds. at a certain point here in a couple months, you'll be able to actually get the trust that is going to be a new job that doesn't exist in the game. So I think it's going to be a way for them to kind of test the mechanics of the job. But I don't know if y'all have read much about that, but it's
Didn't they say it was based off I'm not going to be
Monbro, yeah.
Monbrio or whatever. So I mean, remember back to the cutscenes in COP. He's a doctor as far as I recall. I'm thinking of the same character, right? The guy in Upper Juno. I mean, he's a doctor, so perhaps maybe could it be? And remember, he's always like, cooking up remedies and stuff for us. Maybe chemist, something like that, or some alternative healer.
That's what people are thinking now is the chemist. That's what they're saying.
And that could be really cool. I mean, think about it. Think about a White Mage alternative. That would be a lot of fun because White Mage has total dominion over effective healing, especially a Yagrush White Mage. And it's just, I'd love to see competition. That sounds super cool.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, and I hope that whatever they bring for the 20th is they definitely have another job in there. So, let's get to the kind of final current event here. Tell us about what's going on with these bannings, bro. Like, there's the forums are juicy, so they keep there's a lot of the big Gilseller botters are posting the Banhammer pictures. So
yeah, that was an interesting one. Well, I think that so here's they're the big question is, have they turned on the auto banners again, which detect certain activity and then just kick you? I don't know the answer to that question, and there's been some discussion as to whether they have or haven't. But the only verifiable people who have supposedly been banned at this point were doing some serious botting. So it's not like their SE isn't going around just you're gone, it's not like that. But I think there is definitely with the pulse cells and stuff. First the metals thing, and now the pulse cells. I think that I would imagine that internally in their company, there's a little bit of pressure. And somebody in the forums was commenting that the guys who come in and do some of the STF and modifying of the working with the auto banner and maybe getting things in order. They're from, I believe somebody said they're from the online division and not specifically from 11. And so they potentially could, if there's a fire under their ass, they could pull some resources for it and really crack down. And I mean, the first place they're going to go is Doe Gates. Who knows what the future holds?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a couple of groups disappear from Doe Gates. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a couple of the Bat Bowl bots.
Interesting.
So I think the only thing, and here's what the dilemma that I think that they're probably in is, okay, how many of these bots pay for a large amount of the subscription base? And, how are you going to balance, because a lot of the pressure probably comes from the JP community because they're just so much more against a lot of the, the add-on culture. But so how do you balance, keeping everyone happy with also a large portion of your monthly revenue? So,
well, somebody in the forums posted there's two NA GMs, and totally. I mean, this is absolute, hearsay. 100%. But somebody in the forum said there's two right. So two NA GMs and like 8 Japan centric GMs, and I don't know for the rest of the world, but to me, perhaps it. Well, I don't know. Okay, so do we address the elephant in the room? It seems like they listen to the players of that that are from they work and they live in the same country, and so naturally they listen to the people who they can most easily communicate with. And actually, communication's always been a problem for SE. I mean, they've just in the last 5 years gotten people on the forums, but it's always been tough. So I don't know. This is a weird time.
Yeah, definitely something to ponder on. But well, before we get into kind of my closing remarks here, anything you all want to wrap up with on any of the topics that we've gone over, or just in general?
So
go ahead, Bob.
With a lot of the updates coming, and it's obvious that they're trying to keep this game attractive and playable, and they keep putting a ton of effort, a ton of work into making this game more accessible for players, whether it's new or returning new, or people who have stuck around for the long run. So they're obviously putting a lot of time, a lot of effort into it. We got a lot of great content coming. We have a lot of just generally good things coming out. They're not intentionally trying to come out and take the job you enjoy most and run it into the ground, unless that job was Ninja. So
Ooh,
I'm sorry, I don't even play Ninja, and that series of buffs has me salty. So
ooh, yeah, right.
Okay.
But
Yeah. No, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah. Well, it's what's so great is I hope I don't come off as overly negative. I tend to be a little pessimistic about things, but I've been playing here for many years, and hopefully the developers are still working on some great content to come out soon. And in the meantime, there's plenty of time to get caught up with stuff and build a couple of REMA weapons and get jobs leveled and get through all the other content. What's nice really is there's no rush, because it's on a time scale of years. So it's a good time to return and play again or start anew. And again, if anybody has any questions about any of this, we're all reachable on the social subsection of the Discord.
Yeah, no, that excuse me, it leads me into kind of my closing remarks, and is that at the end of the day, the game is 17 years old, and it can feel like it's really hard to get back into, but that's what makes this game so special, is that it's always been one of those like very close-knit games. So once you find that community that you play with, so if you're thinking about getting back in the game, use us as your segue into it. So we may not necessarily be taking on a lot of members right now, but that's why we created the social section of the Discord, because we want to communicate with you all. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you so much for the past week of communication from everyone. It was extremely I didn't expect it. So we hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We've got some great things coming. I'm not going to kind of spill the beans yet on some of the people that we've got potentially lined up to come on to the show, but know that there's some great episodes here in the future. We're still working out the schedule. So we did back-to-back this week. So we'll probably skip a week for the next one, kind of see what balance works best. We want to make sure that the content that we bring is good. And then, the last thing, once again, Joe, obviously get on Discord, go to the website, get the link off of there, go to our YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to that. So we upload every one of these to that platform as well. But then ultimately, we hope to see you in the game. If you're on our server, make sure you wave or say hey. But other than that, that's going to wrap up this show. Thanks so much for being here. If you're watching live right now, we're going to hang out here for a few minutes. But if not, we'll see you all on the next episode. Thanks.
Take care.
Have fun.